My name is Siebe Vanhee and I'm a Belgian big wall climber. Why I'm here is the down wall.
It was just a discovery of these crazy moves, of these crazy pitches.
It was a lot harder than we thought, actually.
Just getting the rope up to the anchor was really hard.
With the little information I have, I feel like they've got a decent chance. You know, it seems like they're going through the process the same way I did. Yeah, they're phenomenal climbers.
After a month of work in Belgium, I came back. Felt this pressure to go and do a push. It was more of something heavy on my shoulders, weighing me down. It's a very slow process. I think I wasn't ready for this.